The readings for today had enough material for about 5 or 6 sermons. But today I am going to deliver probably the shortest sermon of my career. Don't cheer all at the same time, please. The reason for that is because we have a surprise. Someone is going to join us from Houston, Texas via Zoom and challenge us. So I would love to see your reaction. However, I do want to say a word about what we just read. Of all the do's and don'ts of the book of Exodus, the so-called 10 Commandments that Kit read for us. Now, in the old translation, King James is thou shalt not, and all of that. The way we read it today, it's a bit more contemporary language. But these so-called 10 Commandments have been the object of comedy and scorn. We were kidding with Kay the other day. That scene from History of the World where Mel Brooks comes down from Mount Sinai, he plays Moses, right, with 3 tablets, and goes, I gave you the 15, clash. One of the tablets falls and shatters and goes, 10 commandments. Why 10? Why not 7? Why not 15? But anyway, that is comedy. That's good comedy. Or the infamous adultery is not a sin from the tabloids in the 90s. Anyone remembers that, the circumstances of that? Donald Trump, when he was caught in cheating with Marla Trump, who will become his second wife, the tabloids came out with this headline, adultery is not a sin. And we, of course, were all like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Or George Carlin in early 2000, when he did a parody that summarized the 10 Commandments into one statement. Don't be a jerk. Yeah, we all like to laugh about the ancient idea that there are these like 10 things that you should or should not do. I've heard it all. Here's one for you. If we stopped coveting our neighbor's house or our neighbor's wealth, the economy would collapse. He would take the motivation out of it. Or greed is good. They even made a movie out of that, right? God helps those who help themselves. Have you ever heard that? Well, that's not what the 10 Commandments. All irony aside, though, there is one commandment that has the power to convict. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit in the past weeks as I continue to study the radical hospitality, equity-based hospitality course that I'm taking on Thursdays. The first commandment, do not worship any gods except me. That's pretty much what it says. But it's the only commandment that gets specific, very specific. Do not make for yourself any carved image or likeness of anything in heaven above, or on earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. These are the 3 spheres of Hebrew cosmology, right? The 3 elements. And do not bow down or serve them. Okay, so I get it. So far, so good, right? We all understand this. Don't bow down or serve idols that you yourself make. No other gods. By the way, it uses the same word, Elohim, that the scripture used to describe the one and only God. Then he gives you the reason, and the reason is frightening. For I, Yahweh, am a jealous God, and for the parents' fault I punish the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren of those who turn from me. But I show kindness to the 1,000th generation of those who love me and heed my commandments. So the juxtaposition, right? 3 generations of punishment. Okay, let's redimensionalize that. What it means is consequences, right? Consequences. What we do affect our children. Wow, don't we know that? We do, right? What we do, the choices we make affect our children. What they do, in turn, affect our grandchildren, and so on and so forth. But God says, I will be faithful. I will show kindness to the 1,000th generation. So the rewards, if you will, the consequences of good behavior is God's kindness for 1,000 generations. By the way, the word jealous, kana is the Hebrew word, is the same word used for zealous, which is the same word that is in Aramaic used to describe what Jesus was doing in the temple, was being jealous or zealous, same word. You can translate that as feeling of desire of exclusivity, if you will, to focus. Well, we are not in the year 1000 before the Common Era, are we? We're not. We don't worship Baal, Osiris, or Horon, any of those gods. But I submit to you that we have plenty of idols. Plenty of idols. We have discussed some of them before, right? Money, fame, chasing reputation, power, control. Those are pretty big idols. All of them with clay feet, if you ask me. But today I want to focus on the idol of physical form and ability. Physical form and ability. We worship athletes who jump high, run fast, and look fit. Right? We have elevated models with impossible bodies, to the level of idols. We've created a whole new pantheon, digital and otherwise, where those of us who do not conform to our misguided ideal of physical perfection don't belong, or mental perfection don't belong. We adore a narrow, very narrow set of attributes and abilities and forget the marvelous rainbow of diversity that the very same jealous, zealous God has created. All manner of creatures with all manners of ability, all manners of mobility, all manners of motility, all manners of ambulation, all manners of beautiful, all manners of sexy and attractive. God has created them all. So to offer us a perspective from a different station in life, I would like us to listen now to Maria Palacios. She comes to us from Houston, Texas. She's a poet and artist. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I can read her bio. Author of several publications, which include 2 full volumes of disability-centered poetry, women empowerment journals, a book of disability humor and satire, and a collection of poetic storytelling through which she shared her personal story of motherhood and disability. Next. Maria is also a professional workshop facilitator whose work is being presented at various colleges and universities around the nation. She's a spoken word performer who has been collaborating and performing with Sins Invalid or Invalid, a disability justice performance organization since 2007. In the artistic world, Maria Palacios is known as the goddess on wheels, wheels being a wheelchair. So let's spotlight her video. And here is Maria. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel truly honored to be sharing space with you all today. And thank you for such a warm introduction. I really appreciate it, how you brought into perspective the fact that all of us are created uniquely and you know, we live in such an ableist world. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you a poem that I wrote called Naming Ableism. And through this poem, I realized that there are so many forms of ableism, and yet ableism is relatively a new word that allows us to actually name that oppression that disabled people have been forced to endure. So I invite you to take a close look into your own experience, your own assumptions or awareness, peel off those layers that you have been encapsulated in throughout your entire lives, because I assure you that as you hear this piece, you are going to find aspects of it that you identify with, and you're going to be like, wow, this is ableism. And the reason why I wrote this piece is because I grew up disabled, and throughout my entire life, I felt this pain, this anger, this uncomfortness, this unnameable oppression. Because until about 10, maybe 12 years ago, when the word ableism did not become a centerpiece in conversation, even in the disability culture world. It's still new to us. That's how oppressed we have been, that we didn't even know how to name such oppression. So throughout this piece, I talk about not only my own disability, being a wheelchair user, but also you'll be able to hear and see and feel truths and experience truths of other disabilities like blindness or autism, et cetera, et cetera. So it is with a lot of respect and a lot of appreciation that I bring to you this long piece named Naming Ableism. Ableism is when you say that I don't act disabled and expect me to take that as a compliment. Ableism is when you assume that I'm automatically strong and courageous simply because I'm disabled. Ableism is when my blindness becomes your darkness, when you wear my scars in your sleeve and pretend to understand my truths. Ableism is when you try to heal me and fix me and promise me that I will walk or see or hear, or that I will be everything I was really meant to be one day in heaven. Ableism is believing that heaven is an able-bodied place where broken bodies finally become whole. Ableism is when whole is a word reserved for the able-bodied, or when you say that I'm beautiful despite my differences and fail to recognize that I'm beautiful because of them. Ableism is when you leave us to ripen and rot hanging from the vine because you refuse to bite into our fruit. Ableism is the fruit of your fears. Ableism is when you think sexy is not a word that applies to me. Ableism is you bragging about your independence while you watch me struggle to get free. Ableism is how free you feel to assume. Ableism is when you assume I'm single, when you assume I'm a virgin, when you assume I hate my body because in your narrow mind, how could I not? Ableism is when your discomfort becomes a bigger barrier than a flight of stairs. Ableism is when parents yank their kids away and tell them not to stare, automatically teaching them that disability is a dirty word. Ableism is when you tell me how inspiring it is to watch me work or watch me cook. Ableism is when you can't look at my scars without cringing or feeling like you have to say you're sorry or like you owe me an apology for my body. Because I'm such a monster and your able-bodiedness almost makes you feel guilty. And I say almost because if it had, you would not be so quick to push me out of your mind with a thank God it's not me curling under your tongue like a snake. Ableism is when you make plans that do not include accessible venues, accessible spaces, so it becomes easier to erase me from your list. Ableism is when you can pretend disabled people don't exist. Ableism is not being able to join your schoolmates in the class picture or school play because there is no ramp to the stage. Ableism is our disabled lives played by non-disabled actors. Ableism is non-disabled actors who think they totally understand our struggles because they got to play our role. Ableism is having to roll on inaccessible sidewalks because I have no choice. Ableism is the fact that I have no choice, but you do. Ableism is when disabled parents are told they should not be parents. Ableism is when you feel that your baby is not safe with me, or when you pat me on the head as if I were a kid and call me cute. Ableism is when my service dog gets kicked off the plane because non-disabled passengers complained. Ableism is when I ask you for help and you feel entitled to choose for me. Ableism is not in your head and understanding instead of admitting that you don't have a clue what I said. Ableism is the fact that you're afraid to tell the truth. Ableism is making heroes out of people who take disabled kids to the prom and never talk to them again because that one good deed is good for at least 10 years, if not a lifetime. Ableism is a lifetime of isolation, a lifetime of segregation, a lifetime of untold stories of once upon a time there was a cripple who could. And for every cripple that could, there was and is an able-bodied person who should, but doesn't. Ableism is the fact that it doesn't matter, because unless you're the one being oppressed, unless it's your body that fails, it's not your problem, and you can push it away, out of sight, out of mind. Ableism is leaving behind the imperfect ones, the ones that slow you down, the ones that embarrass you. Ableism is the fact that we can embarrass you just by sitting in the same room and breathing the same air. Ableism is when you say it's not fair that I don't have to wait in line. Ableism is thinking that I'm out of line for demanding human rights. Ableism is when you say how lucky I am that I get to sit all the time while your poor able-bodied feet get tired. Ableism is you saying that, but deep down feeling grateful you're not me. Ableism is the way media portrays us as either objects of pity or inspiration. Ableism is inspiration porn. Ableism is when you say disabled people should not do porn because our bodies are not something anyone would want to see naked. Ableism is your naked bigotry peeking through the keyhole of your closet. Ableism is how you want to lock us in the closet and how you believe that giving us new labels like physically challenged and differently abled is no longer labeling us. Ableism is making buses accessible, but not the streets leading to the bus stop. Ableism is how the bus stop becomes like a Forrest Gump story, always waiting to be told. Ableism is when not even the back of the bus was available to us in the unwritten pages of our history, and how we have to become our own crib version of Rosa Parks every single day to this day. Ableism is when you say that if God hasn't healed me, it's only because I don't have enough faith. Ableism is how your faith considers me a punishment from God, or how you try to pray my differences away as if they were demons. Ableism is the demons of your ignorance. Ableism is having accessible parking but denying us access to the door. Ableism is how the real estate industry continues building inaccessible homes and acting as if eliminating a step would be an eyesore, an offense, a code violation. Ableism is the violation of our rights, done so quietly and shoving us under the rug. Ableism is when you tell able-bodied jokes and expect me to think they're funny. Ableism is how your version of funny becomes my version of painful. Ableism is how the rich play monopoly with real properties and make none of them affordable or accessible. Ableism is when words like affordable and accessible are too good to be true. Ableism is saying that there are no qualified disabled applicants. What you mean to say is disabled people who can pass as non-disabled are hard to find. Ableism is your ability to find reasons to push us aside, to keep us in cages, leave our struggles out of the history pages, pretend we never existed. Ableism is when you say, I'm the only disabled friend you've ever had. Ableism is when you say that and still don't understand why we feel invisible. Ableism is when you think I don't have a disability because you can't see it. Ableism is expecting me to always be brave like Pollyanna. Ableism is thinking that if I'm in a bad mood, it must be because I'm disabled and I must have a chip on my shoulder. Ableism is expecting me to shoulder your ableist beliefs because the weight of my differences are too heavy for you to carry. Ableism is me having to carry the guilt you force upon me. Ableism is when you think autism equals stupid and when stupid becomes just another word to describe those like me. Ableism is when you use my hearing child to interpret for you. Ableism is when I find myself forced to use my hearing child to interpret for me. Ableism is when you say it's not your fault that I'm disabled, but act as if it were mine. Ableism is always having to blame someone. Ableism is asking my friends what I would like to order because you fear not being able to communicate with me. Ableism is the fact that you don't even try. Ableism is when your disabled child is the only one that didn't get invited to the party. Ableism is when a political party treats disability as a mockery of our struggles. Ableism is when cops see my disability as a threat. Ableism is when it's dangerous just to be out while crippled. Ableism is calling my needs special and then ignoring them. Ableism is believing I need to be fixed. Ableism is you refusing to fix what's really broken. Ableism is painting our lives like a tragic story. Ableism is our story told by non-disabled voices captured through a non-disabled lens. Ableism is you feeling like I should be grateful for the ramps and the parking spaces, as if access was not a basic right. Ableism is when my basic rights are considered a burden. Ableism is when you force unsolicited help upon me because to you it seemed like I needed it. Ableism is you thinking that my asking for help gives you the right to decide for me. Ableism is when a relationship with me is something you keep from your friends. Ableism is when you have sex with me out of curiosity. Ableism is when your curiosity invades my space, when your curiosity hurts, when your curiosity kills my cat and leaves me wounded. Ableism is making those things essential to my survival out of my financial reach, but call yourself an ally if I qualify for the financial aid or the loan or the insurance premium that would make you my friend. Ableism is when you pretend to care because you're paid to care, but deep down you don't give a shit. Ableism is when you wish for a world without disabled people and you say that to me and expect me to agree with you. Ableism is when you say that if you became disabled, you would want to die. Ableism is wishing you could help us die or wishing you didn't have to help us live. Ableism is believing disabled people are better off dead. Ableism is when you turn your head the other way and say that your able-bodied privilege is not privilege, and you refuse to see that your privilege is the face of my oppression. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hearing my truths, for opening yourselves to my pain, to my scars, to my personal story. I beg you to take a look at yourselves, to take a look inside your own experience surrounding ableism. And I encourage you and challenge you so that the next time you see a disabled person, don't pretend that you don't see the disability, but do make an effort to also see our humanity. Thank you so much.